We're learning Peri Beis Halacha Gedalad and Hilchos Chametz Pesach. Ad kama nimna al Pesach. How many can you put on a korban Pesach to be counted? Until there's a minimum of a olive's bit of meat for each and every individual. Let's go to the Peirush. V'nimnin olav. Now you can add and subtract yourself from it till the time of slaughter. Once it is slaughtered, you cannot subtract. As your hand from it, because you've already been fulfilled your obligation. Because the mission cites a Mishnah Sochem Peites Amud Aleph 89a. A person you can always add yourself as long as it's a kazayas, and you can take your hand away from it till it's slaughtered. Rab Shimon says until even zrigas adam. So the Gemara says Amar Abaye. The machlokes is till when you can remove your hand from it on Pesach. It has to do with the posuk. The house shall be, meaning there won't be enough people for a sheep. According to Chacham, means mechiyusa to say while the animal is alive. Miyois, that you translate as alive, that you can do it only as long as it's alive. Rab Shimon, he learns miyois miseh when it is a sheep. That means there is something part of it that's still secular, and that therefore, until you don't finish the avodah, which is the spraying of the blood, he can remove himself from the korban. But to be counted in the korban, everyone agrees, only till he's slaughtered, till the animal is slaughtered. As it says, as per the number of people, they shall be slaughtered on the seh. It says v'michsoif, means the number, and it says tachusu, which in the Lashon of Aramaic means it shall be slaughtered. Therefore, till then you can do it. Mari Kurka says, therefore the Rambam goes ahead and again emphasizes till when can you change your mind. Since he slaughtered it, he cannot pull his hands back from it, to teach us that halacha is kechachamim and not like Rab Shimon. But on the din that you can add until shlitim, the Rambam did not repeat, because everyone agrees that you can only add yourself until shlitim. Certain groups of people were counted. Now this came along and were counted. A, B, C, and then C, D, E, F, let's say, right? And if the D, E, F did not have a kazayas, so the first ones, they were there first, therefore they had a kazayas. But the later ones, and the ones who came later, they did not have a kazayas for themselves. Therefore, they can't eat from the bus of Pesach because they're not counted. As long as there's no kazayas, you weren't on it. They have to do a Pesach Sheni if they don't hurry up and find a different group, because they don't have a fulfillment in that group at the time of Shechita. Because the Mishnah cites a Brisa, and the Rikukas cites it, that if he was counted one group, like say 10 people, and then another group, the first one that has a kazayas eats, and they have fulfilled their obligations. The second group that don't have a kazayas can't eat from the Pesach Sheni, and they have to bring a Pesach Sheni. And Mosdos says both of them are potter from bringing a Pesach Sheni because the dam was sprayed on them. What's the reasoning of Mosdos? That really you don't have to eat. That a person who brings a korban Pesach, he still he fulfills his obligation, and they sprayed the blood for him. Therefore, it comes out. It would seem he's fulfilled all of his obligations. The Chacham of the opinion that the ability to eat is necessary, and since to begin with they couldn't eat, therefore they're not included, and therefore they have to bring a Pesach. And the whole counting was a mistake. Now, Mary Kurka says only when they were first one group and the others. Therefore, the first ones, they had a kazayas, they fulfilled their obligation. And you don't have to bring a Pesach Sheni, the other ones do so. However, if the whole group, let's say 1,000 people decide to buy one small sheep, right? and there was no kezayis to begin with, everyone agrees nobody was fulfilled his obligation, because it's considered that was brought for people that can't eat a kezayis, and the pesach that was slaughtered for people that can't eat a kezayis is posuk. Therefore, the Brisa says specifically, first you had one group, and then another one to say that the first group had a kezayis, just the other ones didn't have, and therefore the first ones are people who are considered members, and the other ones are not considered members. We're learning Peri Beis Alchot Ezvov. Hamana Acherem Imoy Al Chelkoi. What happened to somebody? There were 5 people on a korban, and each one had a nice big piece of meat, and somebody comes to him and says, "I don't have a korban pesach." "Oh, you can eat with me on my portion." So somebody took somebody else on his portion. So there are 5 people to begin with, and now there's another 5 who were added, right? So we have 10. Yodun Bohu Bnei Chabura, and the other ones weren't consulted. Let's go down to the Peirush. Bnei Chabura can tell him here's 1/5 of the korban pesach. Sheyitzlo beis ha'achila. You should roast your portion and give it to your friends. Each one of them eats a quarter. And he can have these other people eat with him on his own portion. The Mishnah cites the Mishnah in Psochim 89b, and the Marikukas mentions it. There's so many points with him on his portion. The other people can tell him, you have your portion, we have ours. And Rashi explains, according to the Brisa, that we say, take your portion and go eat with your friends. I guess they have to eat separately, because the Tana here is of the opinion that Pesach can be eaten in 2 chaburas. In other words, even though you have to eat it together, it doesn't mean that everybody who slaughtered the korban Pesach has to eat it all together, but when you begin to eat, you have to eat together. So Amerikukis questions, how can the Rambam say this is the halacha? He writes, anybody who eats from the Pesach, he cannot eat only in one group, so it would seem that they will have to eat together. The Marikukas explains, when it says, Eina Pesach nechel shtei chaburos, is talking when there's a visible barrier between them. But here there's no visible barrier, they're eating together. There's 10 people at the table, 4 of them have 4 quarters, and the other 6 are eating the other quarter. That's called together, even though they're not eating the same amount. And the Rami Korka says that what Rashi explains is, according to the Tana, that Pesach can be eaten 2 chaburas, is because Rashi learned, they tell him, say, go out. So it would seem that he has to leave. And therefore you see that he can go out into 2 groups. But the Rambam maybe didn't have that text. And even if he did have it, he can explain it, meaning you're not associated with us totally to bring other people in. You have to eat your portion with them, and therefore they can all to eat together. This is according to Marikukas. The Rambam is of the opinion that the Pesach cannot be eaten in 2 groups. And we'll see in Perek Tes Halacha Aleph. But we learned that the Ma'aser Rekeach is of the opinion that the Rambam says Pesach can be eaten in 2 groups, and he explains the words of the Rambam over there in a different context. And according to the Ma'aser Rekeach, you can explain here they break into 2 groups, and they're literally 2 separate groups. Similarly, if the people found out that one of the members, there were 5 of them, and they found out that one guy could eat up the whole Korban Pesach, they can take him out of their group, and they give him his portion, tell him, this is what you got to eat. Eat it by yourself, not with us. But if he's not somebody who might eat up the whole thing, they cannot separate. Gagaron, what does it mean? It means somebody who has the ability to consume a lot of food. But first he wrote Gagaron, and Masechet Taharos he writes that women are able to speak a lot. The Rambam explains they eat a lot, meaning that the throat isn't satiated. Tarim Yerushalmi brings in the Pasuk Yisi Zoleilo, that means I was someone who was unable to satiate my appetite. Taisus Yontiv explains that Gagara means they rush to eat, that You want to eat so much until, and this is something that we know scientifically also, that if you eat slowly, then you become satiated because your stomach tells you when to stop eating. But if you force yourself at the beginning to eat quickly, then you will not be satiated. You'll eat more than satiation. As the Mishnah cites the Gemara in Psachim 89b, Rae Gann brings it. The question: a group that every one of them was likes to eat a lot, and they use the word yofos. Their hands were nice, meaning they had nice and big. Can we tell them to leave? You accepted him. You took me as a group. I'll eat as much as I can. Or they can tell him, when do we take it? As far as slaughtering it, so you should be part of it. You should fulfill your obligation, but not to eat more than us that we didn't agree to. Gemara continues. Igid Army, the others were saying, there's no question that somebody who is going to eat a lot, you can separate him. But the question is a group. Are they allowed to separate or they're not allowed to separate? If each one can give his portion, even when one of them is not, can they separate even when there's no reason to do so? Or everybody has to be together when they're eating, and everybody should eat that which he's supposed to. The Gemara says, Toshma, that one of them was a heavy eater, they can tell him, take your portion and go out. Thus we see that only if he's going to eat a lot they can do so, but without that reason he can't do so. Now Rae Gann says that the Gemara can be explained that the question was, even can you divide up even if everyone agrees with it? Even if everyone agrees with it. But from the Mosdos Gemara, from the conclusion of the Gemara, they bring a proof only somebody who is eating a lot can you separate. It seems is when not everybody's agreeable to eat together. But if they want to eat together, if they're willing, they can definitely separate, and everyone can eat separately. And so we can explain the Rambam. If he's not somebody who is a person who eats a lot, you cannot separate. That this is only when they don't agree. If they agree to say, let's say she eats separately and do our own seder, the Rambam would also agree that you can separate. This halacha is even today. We don't have to call him Pesach. It means if they did a shutfus and a meal, any meal, when can it divide? When your partners, we went to buy something. There are more rights. A group that sat down to eat, one of them's eating a lot, they can tell him, leave. There are more in Darkei Moshe on the tour writes that the din comes from Psachim, that we learned this rule from Psachim.